I'm Jim Kirchherr, and I'm making plans for Monday, August 21st. For me and probably a lot of other people around here, it's likely to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, a total eclipse of the sun. I'm getting ready. I've got my viewing glasses. I'm choosing my viewing location, and I am really hoping for a cloudless sky. Most of North America, including the northern part of the St. Louis area, will be treated to a partial eclipse that day. But from Oregon to South Carolina and through Missouri and southern Illinois, there is a 70-mile wide path of totality. And if the weather cooperates, this is what you will see. And towns and schools, teachers and students, astronomers, professional and amateur, are getting ready. Eclipses are awe-inspiring and, for some, fear-inspiring. The experts say, don't be afraid, but do be careful.
But it is our goal to get everybody ready to observe this eclipse, whether they're just going to totality or whether they're going to see the partial. It doesn't matter. We want them to be able to have a good time while safely observing it.
Anna Green is the manager of the St. Louis Science Center's McDonald Planetarium, and she's got plenty of good advice, which we'll get into in a bit, because people like her have been preparing for this a lot longer than the rest of us.
And I'd like you to stand if you've got resources and programs and you're looking for people to use them.
We first talked to her about the eclipse last December when she was attending a conference at the Moonrise Hotel. A group of educators and astronomers from around the country were there to talk about available resources and possible activities around this most public of scientific events.
You see these little beads where there's a valley and you see the last little bit of the sun before it's completely blocked.
The main speaker that day was University of Missouri astronomer Angela Speck. She's the co-chair of the National Total Solar Eclipse Task Force. She gave a talk she had given before and a talk that she pretty much hasn't stopped giving since.
This will be the most watched celestial event ever, and you guys are right in the front row.
We ran into her again 6 months later in Pacific, one of the towns that will get more than 2 minutes of totality.
The sun is at its highest point and set, okay?
Towns along the path of totality like Pacific, of course, they know it's coming. What they don't know is who is coming, and more importantly, how many.
Let me remind you that there are 4 times as many people live within 100 miles as live on the path. They really need to know the deluge of people that's going to appear. And so you're going to have a lot of people, especially coming out of St. Louis. People are going to stay in St. Louis because they have a lot of hotels up there, and they're going to be heading down I-44, and they're going to be heading this way.
How busy have you been leading up to this eclipse?
So at this point, I am using a tank of gas a day. I'm driving all over the state. Sometimes it's not a talk every day, but there might be more than 1 talk in a day, so I'm averaging a talk a day. There is no space in my schedule. At this point, I am scheduled right through the eclipse.
Towns in the path of totality have been listening, and they're getting ready, setting aside viewing areas, arranging for portable toilets and food trucks, organizing festivals, without knowing whether they'll be getting hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people. By June of this year, the eclipse buzz was getting out far beyond astronomy circles, and there was a big expo at Queenie Park with the message, plan ahead.
Half an arm's length, and then just make sure you look through each lens, make sure there's no pinholes.
Make sure you have a filter for your camera, even your cell phone. But my point really as a teacher, I'm going to actually tell them, put the camera down. And don't worry about the camera. I want you to feel the eclipse. I want you to experience it. Let the professionals get a good picture of the sun, and I'm sure they'll share it with you.
I would strongly suggest going to an event. We'll tell you, for instance, when to take off the glasses, what's coming up, what to look for.
Here's a reminder about why this is such a big deal. While eclipses happen somewhere on Earth every year, they don't often happen over such populated and easily accessible areas. And it's a total eclipse, not all of them are. Sometimes the moon moves between the Earth and the sun, but because of its distance, it doesn't completely cover the sun. But in a total eclipse, the moon is big enough to completely hide the sun. It's the only time we can then see the corona, and that's exciting not just for us, but for scientists who will be on the job that day all across the country.
So when we have an eclipse, there's always new things to learn, and that's partly because over time our technology gets better. So there may be things that we would like to have done in the past, but we just didn't have the technology to do it. One of the things that's particular about this eclipse is that because it's over land for such a long time, which is unusual, and also because it's one country, we can do an experiment where we can take images at different locations and then we can compile them. And so you actually get what's effectively a longer duration of observation than you would get in one single spot. And so there's lots of things that we can do for this eclipse that we haven't been able to do before.
For the rest of us, if we're in the path of totality, we'll get a few seconds or up to 2.5 minutes when the stars come out and the corona emerges. It's not direct sunlight, so you can take off your glasses and look at it. But the rest of the time, nearly 3 hours of partial eclipse from start to finish, keep them on if you're looking at the sun. If you don't have a pair of glasses, you can still appreciate what's going on during the eclipse. In fact, if you walk out under the trees, the sunlight coming through, well, it'll show up as a whole bunch of crescents. You can make a simple pinhole camera, just put a pinhole in a piece of cardboard and put it over a piece of white paper, and you'll see what the sun looks like. Right now it's a disk, eclipse day, it'll look a lot different. And this is pretty cool. You can get something like a colander with lots of holes, do the same thing, and now you've got dozens, if not hundreds, of crescent suns. Now, as for the glasses, when you put them on, you don't see a thing. I mean, it's totally dark, black. That means they're working. The only thing that comes through is the sun. And if you're going to get these, get them now because they're only a couple of bucks at the most, and who knows how much somebody's going to want to charge you for these things the day of. And also get them from a reliable source, whether it's online or at a city hall or the Science Center gift shop. Because believe it or not, there are actually counterfeit glasses out there that do not meet the safety standards.
So there's a couple things to be aware of with the glasses. If you look at the back side, there's going to be two things you're going to look for. There's going to be a little symbol that says ISO. That indicates that it is safe and it meets the requirements. And then the other symbol is going to be the CE over here, and that means that it's certified by the British Standards Institute. Both of those symbols mean that these are safe to use. And there's a way that we like to show how to use them here at the Science Center to be sure that you are protecting yourself. And we all do it too, so it may seem a little silly, but it's definitely the best way to do it. You're going to look down at your toes, then you're going to put your glasses on, and now it's safe to look up at the sun. And when you're done looking, you're going to look back down at your toes again, and then you're going to take them off, and then you're good to go. Because if you go to just look while you're putting them on, it's too late. You've already looked at the sun. That's no good. So we want to make sure that you keep your eyes safe. You can severely damage your eyes by looking at that direct sunlight with the unfiltered eye. So
even if it's just a little crescent of the sun, it's
even
still dangerous.
Yes, even if you're in going into totality and you get that diamond ring effect, which is where that last teeny tiny little bit of the sun is showing, that can still damage your eyes.
In the St. Louis area, Jefferson Barracks Park will be a primary viewing site with about 1.5 minutes of total eclipse time. McDonald Planetarium is just off the path of totality, but a 99% eclipse is still pretty impressive, and there will be plenty going on there outside and inside. There are a lot of options, but if you're not in a position to just set up a chair in your own backyard, keep in mind this isn't a local event. It's a national, even international event. So a little planning will go a long way.
Because it is going to be crazy the day of. It's important that everybody get to see this. This is a huge once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the St. Louis area. The last time we saw a total solar eclipse come through St. Louis was 1442, and the next time it's going to happen is 2505.